Last night in the debate, I had an exchange with Mayor Bloomberg about the question about sexual harassment and discrimination that had occurred, and there have been many allegations about this. And he said on the stage that no, it had just really been about a few jokes that he'd told, that people hadn't been able to take a joke, and that, but the people on the other side, we think mostly women, had to sign non-disclosure agreements, which means they are legally bound not to tell their side of the story. He can tell his side of the story, but they can't tell theirs. And so I asked him if he would release all of those people from the non-disclosure agreements. This is an election for President of the United States, and transparency here is important. So I used to teach contract law, and I thought I would make this easy. I wrote up a release and covenant not to sue, and all that Mayor Bloomberg has to do is download it, I'll text it, sign it, and then the women or men will be free to speak and tell their own stories. And if I can, I just want to read the relevant language. Bloomberg and the company release any and all obligations contained in any agreement, including but not limited to any employment, settlement, severance, or non-disclosure agreement between Bloomberg and or the company and any other person to the extent those obligations preclude the other person from disclosing information relating to sexual harassment, discrimination, or other misconduct at the company or by Bloomberg himself. Under this release, it is now the other person's choice to disclose such information or not. I think that the mayor should sign this and that we all have a right to see.
So last night at the debate, when you talked about this with him, you came at him, you went right at him. You called him, you were quoting, a billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. That's what you said last night. Now, one of his responses—
Let me just be clear. That's what he said. I was quoting him on those words.
So his response, one of his responses to what you said, was that maybe they didn't like a joke I told.
Yes.
That he was implying this was an off-color joke that he made. What's your reaction to that?
That just doesn't cut it.
So do you think that would be disqualifying in and of itself to be president of the United States?
Yes, I do. I think that when a man who is a billionaire, can we all just remember the power relationship about what's going on here? Who calls people names like fat broad and horse-faced lesbian, and who knows what else because of the non-disclosure agreements, that when a man who is a billionaire throws that kind of thing out there, and then when someone finally, think what that must be like, to work in a company or to be someone else trying to make it in that field, and you're up against the owner of the company, a multi-billionaire, someone finally says, this is bad enough, I'm gonna raise a complaint. I'm going to go to a lawyer, or I'm going to go to HR, I'm gonna raise a complaint. You gotta admit, that takes a lot to be able to do that. And that the consequence of it is he dumps some money on it and then stuffs a gag in the woman's mouth. If he's not willing to remove those gags and let those women and maybe those men talk, then he is disqualified from being president of the United States.
So you have said, and this is important when you say disqualifying, because you said you'll support the Democratic nominee for president.
I will support the Democratic nominee.
What about Michael Bloomberg?
Look, I will support the Democratic nominee because I believe that everyone on that stage would make a better president than Donald Trump. I'm in.
So I just want to be clear, you would support Michael Bloomberg even though he called someone a horse-faced lesbian.
Look, but what we've got right now is a chance for the Nevada voters to make sure that Michael Bloomberg is not our nominee, and that's what I'm asking for.
So But you just said he should be disqualified.
I do believe he should be disqualified, and I'm out here making that pitch to the voters every single day. They will make the decision whether he's disqualified or not, in the same way that the Republicans made the decision whether or not Donald Trump was disqualified. I like to think the Democratic Party is better than having an arrogant billionaire who harasses women and engages in sexual discrimination for its leader.
But how would you be able to support him then if he's a nominee?
Look, at the end of the day, it's going to be Donald Trump versus someone, and what I can guarantee is I'm liking someone.
I want to get to
I
audience
may not like
questions,
them very much, but I'm liking them.
So my question is, how do you plan on getting the ultra-rich to pay taxes when they are actively evading and dodging their fair share? And how will you respond to their possible backlash and protests?
Okay, so I love this question, Gabrielle. Let me start with, it's time for a wealth tax in America. Basic idea here is that it is a 2-cent tax on fortunes above $50 million. So your first 50 million, free and clear. I said, woman, is not unreasonable, right? But on your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents, 2 cents on every dollar after that. And when you hit $1 billion, you got to put in a few pennies more. Okay, that's the basic idea. And by the way, just so everyone's following, anyone in here own a home or grew up in a family that owned a home? Yeah, you've all paid a wealth tax. It's just called a property tax. Yeah, every year. And all I'm saying is for millionaires and billionaires, maybe their property tax should include the real estate, but also the stock portfolio, the diamonds, the Rembrandt, and the yacht. That's the basic idea. And here's the thing. Here's what you're going to love about this, Gabrielle. This is an idea that will raise a ton of money. And I want to talk about the things we can do with it in a little bit. But it is supported by Democrats, independents, and Republicans. Get that. This is something that is popular across America. Why? Because Americans, regardless of party affiliation, understand they're getting the short end of the stick. Just to give you an idea, the 99% last year paid about 7.2% of your total wealth in taxes. That top 1/10 of 1%, 3.2%, less than half. Could we have just a little basic fairness in this country? Ask those guys to pitch in 2 cents and let's invest in a whole generation of young people. We're going to get this done.
Does your commitment to the environment include a ban on the export of American oil?
So what I want to see us do, I hadn't thought about it in terms of that specific part. What I want to see us do is get off an oil economy, and not only for ourselves, but for the rest of the world. I want to see us move entirely to green. And let me say on this, I not only support a Green New Deal, I don't think it goes far enough. I also have a Blue New Deal, because we got to be thinking about our oceans as well that we need to protect. So I'm glad to talk about all parts of climate, but I'll do 2 quick things around it. Climate is the existential threat. And here's the part that scares me. Every time the scientists go back and collect more data and put it into their models, the problem is worse than we thought, and we have less time than we thought. So the urgency of the moment is upon us. How are we going to fix this problem? In the biggest sense, I'm going to say something very controversial in Washington. I feel safe here to say it. I believe in science. A 10-fold increase in science, and then whatever we invent to help clean up this country, the oceans, and around the world, American taxpayers paid for the research and development that you can build using that research, but you got to build it here in the United States. That will produce millions of union jobs, good union manufacturing jobs. One other thing, I will not talk about climate without talking about climate justice. Because for decades, this country has permitted the polluting factories, the toxic waste dumps to be put in African American and Latino communities over and over and over. It has destroyed people's health. It has destroyed their economies. I make a $1 trillion commitment that America will own up to what we've done wrong and we will clean up these communities. It's our responsibility. Thank you. Thank you.